What's up, everybody? Welcome to Inside Brooklyn, sponsored by the Brooklyn Commons. I am so glad to be back for season 2 of this show. Really excited to be back in the room with all my favorite ladies, of course. Shout out to the folks behind the scenes that make this podcast run and that gave us a beautiful space to broadcast from, and all of the guests that we're going to talk to on the show. For those folks that don't know, Inside Brooklyn is a spotlight that we're putting on all the creatives in Brooklyn, New York, and all of the things that they're doing, some of whom are based in the Brooklyn Commons here, some of whom are based out in the community, but one thing they have in common is a love for Brooklyn. So I'm very excited today to have Tiffany Joy Murchison with me. She is a consummate communications professional. I like that sentence. She's an influential entrepreneur and a leading boutique public relations firm, and she also is the founder and the principal public relations strategist for TJM & Co. She leads a team in providing public relations and brand development solutions for nonprofit, faith-based, and community engagement organizations, as well as small business and collegiate level sports organizations. She's got experience that spans across several industries, from communications, technology, and financial services to publishing and entertainment, and she's got over 20 years of experience in nonprofit board management. She's a regular public and media relations contributor for local television. She's a workshop facilitator. She's a youth mentor. She's even got a stint as a radio show co-host, so she's, a woman after my own heart right here. And she's got a bachelor's of arts from the City College of New York, a project management certificate from Villanova University, and she's currently pursuing a certificate in business and entrepreneurship from Cornell University. So welcome, Tiffany Joy, to the show. Thank you so much for being with us today and for your impressive resume.
You made me tired.
I'm tired just reading your resume. I thought my resume was long. So, I gave everybody a little bit of your career background. Why don't you give everybody your personal life background and sort of what brought you to where you are today?
Well, I grew up primarily in Long Island, but my parents were entrepreneurs. My parents owned 5 bars, in a restaurant when I was growing up. So I saw that. My mother sold clothing. She did hair, any and everything. My father, years later, went into advertising and marketing when we still used phone books. People still wrote numbers in phone books. He would go into dealerships and he would get ads placed in the phone books from all the vendors, and then that's what they would give out to their clients when they got a new car. So I saw that early on when he started that Inside Associates. But just grew up in Harlem, back and forth between Long Island and Harlem and Long Island and Brooklyn. And when I got old enough to move out on my own, Brooklyn was where I headed to, and I've been here for 20 plus years now. I make myself sound old.
No, not at all. Not at all. So have you always been an entrepreneur? Was that something that you just sort of came out of college and went straight into, or did you have some time doing like full-time work and then you made that leap of faith?
Oh no, I did full-time work for quite a while. I worked my way through college. I got a job with the telephone company at 19 years old, and it was because they paid tuition. That was really my goal, was to go to college. I ended up moving up there, and I had a career with what's now Verizon for 14 years. I was laid off and stayed home for 2 years, finished my degree, raised my daughter, and traveled a little bit, and then said, okay, my bank account looks a little funny and I need to go back to work. And then I went back to work in financial services. I had always wanted to own my own business in some capacity, but I never thought of myself as being a full-time entrepreneur. I always thought it would be a side hustle. I have a nail salon because I was a nail tech. I worked my way through college. I worked for the phone company. I was a nail tech. I did taxes. I used to demonstrate the Keurig machines when they first came out, like in Macy's and Bed Bath & Beyond. So I literally would have like 3 or 4 jobs at one time. And go to school and all that kind of stuff. And so I never thought of it being full-time. I always envisioned myself as an attorney or, some C-suite individual at a large corporation with all these other little businesses bringing me residual income on the side. I tell everybody now that God kept kicking me out of corporate America because I wouldn't listen. And so he kicked me out 3 times before I said, okay, this is apparently not where I need to be. I worked for the same company twice. And got laid off twice from the same company. And so, it was like, all right, God, what's next? And here we are.
Yeah, that's funny. It's such a scary leap of faith to, leave a full-time 9-to-5, regular, consistent paycheck.
Six-figure paycheck.
Yeah, and to jump into entrepreneurship. So, after being laid off 3 times, what was that spark? Was it just that third layoff, or was there, just a day that you woke up and you were like, you know what? I'm gonna do it now? Like, what was that moment for you?
So the second time I was laid off, I actually started the company, and I did a few little projects here and there, but then my mentor called and said, hey, I got a promotion, I need to build a team, I need you to come and build this team for me, come back to work.
Yeah.
And I told myself, okay, I'll give him 6 months. It was going in as a consultant, so salary is great as a consultant, and I said I'll give them 6 months. That 6 months turned into almost 2 years. So I probably wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
If they didn't say, push, get out the door.
Yeah.
I probably would have still been there and not following my passion. And so I found out sometime in December that my last day would be January 31st or 30th, whatever the end of January was in the work week. And I was on my way to Phoenix on a girls trip with my sisters. And initially it was like, okay, I can't go on this trip, I can't spend money. And then my brother was like, no, you're going. And I went, and I kind of made this announcement in the middle of we do this whole sit in our bathrobes, drink tea and coffee, and have pastries. And we just chat, and in the middle of it, I was like, excuse me, I'm not gonna have a job in 30 days, and I don't think I'm gonna go back into corporate. And my eldest sister, who is usually the most critical, the eldest, and she's always like, what? She truly believes in that tradition, you have a job, you get a paycheck. And she looked at me and said, you're gonna be fine. She said, and if you need something, we're all here, but I have no doubt in my mind that you'll be just fine in whatever it is that you decide to do, and we're here to support you. And my first thought was like, okay, who are you and what did you do with my sister? But it was truly confirmation that I was on the right path. And so I came back, worked my last month, left on a Friday, so I recorded my last day in the elevator, it's my last day in the elevator. Stayed home for a week, kind of having a little bit of a meltdown. And then that Monday, which was February 2nd, I believe, turned my basement into a home office, and the rest is history.
And there you are. So why don't you give the audience a little bit of a description of what you're currently doing now?
So TJM & Co., as you said, is a media boutique. So I like to say we do everything that manages our client's brand, from website development, which I actually don't do, but we oversee everything from website development to your image, to press, to exposure, sponsorships, event planning, anything that brings you awareness and exposure, we do. Most of our clients are nonprofits. Our tagline is where public relations meets purpose. I always needed and wanted to do something that made a difference. And so supporting nonprofits and community engagement organizations lets me do that. I can see the fruits of my labor and get paid pretty well to do that. And so we've done small business awards with New York City Council members. We've done, we have a client that helps teen moms and dads to parent, to gain employment, to finish school, all of that type of stuff. We help small business owners to, build their brand and their awareness. I also sit on 2 nonprofit boards, so I do a lot of the work for them as well.
Girl, you're making me tired.
I just told I was going to be on 3rd board recently. I just was like, okay. But so we just do everything that is impactful to our client's brand. We have some hand in it, some oversight. And we just make sure that the story you tell on the outside also matches the inside. So that's the difference with me as a publicist and others, is that because of my corporate experience, I approach everything from a risk-averse perspective. So I look at what's going on inside of your organization, and if we need to clean that up, we're going to clean that up. Because no matter what we do, how we promote you, eventually what you do in the dark comes to the light. And then we have a bigger mess on our hands. So as we're building the brand on the outside, we're also building the brand on the inside. And that's how we work.
Okay. So what would you say, in your opinion, is like not the ultimate, but I would say the best suited company that works with you? Like what kind of company do you work best with, if there is one?
A company whose end goal is to better the quality of life for the community that they serve. That's where my bread and butter is. Now, and I've worked with musical artists, and I don't shy away from those things. I've worked with political candidates. I don't shy away from those things. I actually would like to get more into the political arena. I think folks need help. we also are moving into collegiate sports and high school level sports because our young athletes need help. So we have a whole plan for that coming up towards the end of this year to do some media training for athletes. But any company, any organization, any person that's looking to make an impact to better the quality of life of the folks around them, not just themselves. We're not the, I just want to be a big star PR firm. That's not what we do.
It's funny you say the collegiate level, because you don't really realize, or folks forget that college athletes are a brand. And they have to rep themselves as a brand.
High school athletes are a brand.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about that. People don't ever consider that, and it's good that you have that mindset.
Well, we have an 18-year-old that plays. I have an 18-year-old son. I don't call him my stepson, but who plays basketball. And so I watch. I see the girls coming at him. My house there's sports playing on in my house all the time, so we know football and basketball, everything.
Yeah.
Those are the conversations around the table, and it made me say, well, wait a minute, when you get to that level, because he's getting ready to go away to college on a basketball scholarship, I need to be watching you. I need to be mindful of what's going on. And if you need that, and all of your other teammates don't have me, or don't have a dad in their ear to tell them, don't do that, don't do this, watch that, our kids are failing. They're losing endorsements, they're talented, they're smart, they're looking at sports as a way to get out of the hood, but nobody's telling them how to have longevity in that.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That makes 100% sense. So in terms of your clientele, who has been for you the most interesting client, or which client gives you the best stories to tell, I guess I'll put it that way.
It's funny, we had a conversation about this morning with someone. The most interesting thing I would say is when you learn that you actually have to fire a client. And that happens. So I've learned on both internal situations and external situations to hire slowly and fire quickly. So we don't take on clients just like that. I've had some political candidates that didn't necessarily tell the truth. And so then later on the story blows up. And you're like, you didn't tell me that, Had you told me that, we would have done this differently. So I try to tell my clients, just like your attorney, tell me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I need to know everything. No matter how good, bad, ugly, and different it is, if you don't tell me. And with politics, you find that they don't tell you. So that's probably the most interesting situation, is having something hit the newspaper and getting that phone call at 12:01.
And you're like,
you did not tell me this.
That is not something that was brought to my attention. Right. So, in your professional opinion, do you agree or disagree with that phrase that all publicity is good publicity?
I disagree.
And why is that?
Because people don't forget, especially in today's day and age, and things come back to haunt you and bite you on the butt.
Yes, they do.
And if it's not handled or managed in a proper way, you're going to lose out. So I don't think all publicity is good publicity. Not at all.
So, they're always like, well, at least if someone's talking about you, it means at least they're talking about you. And it's like, that's not always a good thing.
Right, but how are they talking about you? For example, oh my goodness, I can't think of his name, NFL player, a recording just came out of him and his fiance talking about why their son has a broken arm. And child services getting involved and so forth and so on. And it's the Chiefs that he plays for. I just can't think of his name right now. I want to say it's
sorry. We'll leave names out of the podcast anyway.
But the Chiefs just cut him from the rest of the season, and he's probably going to lose his contract. And everybody's talking about him.
But that's not good publicity.
But it's not good publicity.
Is there any bad publicity that is good publicity, I guess, like in your opinion? Like, are there things that are ideal for turning around or something like that?
I think almost anything can be turned around. And that comes from my faith. That I think that everybody can have another chance. I think that forgiveness and grace can be given to just about anybody. The client has to be willing to be repentant and be forgiven. you can't be arrogant in it. You have to take accountability. As long as you take accountability, then you have the authority to change whatever needs to be changed, but you have to make that a true change. I'm not a publicist that coddles my clients and pats them on the head and tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And I won't work with folks whose goals or brand don't align with my own core values, which are the core values of the business, right? Because the business in its essence is me for the most part. So I don't think there's things that you can't turn around. I think that you need to be realistic about the expectations when you do turn it around. You may be a platinum selling artist. You may do something that knocks you off that pedestal, and maybe you won't ever be a platinum selling artist again. That could happen. But the turnaround is how do you then do good and take the rest of your life and give back and make a difference. And maybe that's not what God has for you, to be that platinum selling artist again, but you can definitely turn it around and have a purpose-driven life.
Okay, I like that. I definitely like that. So let's transition and switch gears a little bit because I have to. I want to talk about this radio co-hosting thing that you do. You know, I have a radio station, so I'm like, oh, tell me what you do. So I want to hear all about the media side of your life and the things that you have going on. So tell us some of what your media expertise is.
So it's funny, my sister and I were thinking about bringing the show back, and we actually missed the deadline for Google had a podcast application out, and both of us are just really busy, and we had said, we're going to submit the show again. But we used to do a blog talk radio show titled Sisters Real Talk, because we were sisters, and both in relation and both that we were both black women. And it was right around the time that all the reality TV really started to implode.
Yeah.
You know, all the reality, there was another Love and Hip Hop. There was Love and Hip Hop New York, then the Love and Hip Hop was coming, and then the spinoff of Jim and Chrissy, and
Yeah.
And we were just not happy with the way that we were being portrayed in the media, and decided that we would do a show that talked about all of the challenges of being a black woman, being a woman period, being an entrepreneur, being a corporate mom, all the different things that we face. So we covered dating, we talked about child support issues, we had fathers come on, we talked about the election. It was when Obama was first running for presidency. We ran about almost 4 years.
Nice.
We actually pulled some of the stats. We have some shows that had 17,000 listens. We were like, wow. Oh shoot, we were doing podcasts when podcast wasn't really podcasting, and we were influencers and we didn't know it, so
that's amazing.
We revisited some of those things that we talked about. We did an online dating portion because at the time I was single, and so I was the test dummy, which was horrible.
Probably not a good idea. It's
horrible.
Never a good idea to put your public life in the public.
It was kind of fun, but it just made me be like, oh my God, now I know why I'm single.
Yeah.
So what's out there?
It reminds you.
But it was fun. We had a really good time. My sister at the time was a lot more conservative than she is now, and I am the politically incorrect one.
Yeah.
So there'd be times where she'd be on the other end of the phone wanting to kill me because I've said something that she's like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah.
But we had a good time. We enjoyed it.
So in you mentioned your sisters and you have a brother and all that. So how many siblings do you have, and where do you fall in the lineup?
So on my dad's side, I have 9 sisters and brothers.
Whoa, that's a hell of a Christmas.
I'm dead smack in the middle of those. And on my mom's side, my mother has raised several other children. So I have a couple of what I would call god brothers on that side. And so we do have a pretty big family.
Yeah.
My mother's mother was one of 11. So on both sides of my family, I have a large family, and I fall in the middle on both sides. And so holidays are interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's so funny because I feel like you hear about my mom was one of 17, and you're like, oh my God. And usually when families have that many siblings, it rolls down to the rest of them. It's like everybody now is one of 10, one of 8, one of 6. It's always a whole lot of people.
One daughter.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, we're done with this whole lineup. That's good.
And now I have, you know, 2 others that are, but we have a blended family of 3 teenagers, and I'm good. We have a dog that's 4, and I said he's amazing.
That's enough for you. That's enough for you.
Yeah.
So you have many fields, you know, obviously you have technology, you've got communications, you have, you know, the entrepreneur side of things. So which of these, I guess, branches of your life bring you the most joy?
Being a mother.
Oh, that was not. Good job. That's a good one.
Being a mother. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Especially in today's society. It's hard, it's trying. I cry, I pray. Being a mom is the most fulfilling thing ever. It's the best gift that I've ever had. And my daughter is the reason why I get up in the morning and do what I do, because I know that there is a little girl watching me every day. Actually, she's the reason why my hair is natural today.
Why's that?
She did the big chop over the weekend.
Oh.
It wasn't very well received by some of her friends. They were all into the lashes and the lace fronts and everything.
How old is she?
She's 15.
Oh, yeah, that's a rough age already. Yeah.
And she came home feeling a little beat up on, and so we spent most of Sunday and yesterday trying to figure out how she's going to manage this new do she has. And so I committed to being natural all week with her. So
that's awesome.
She'd have some support there.
Yeah.
Because my hair is never curly.
That's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. You know, good for her for making the big chop. And who cares if they don't like it? It's not about that. It's about how
you
she
know,
feels.
as a mom, I'm ready to fight.
Yeah, but being I know, like, being a teenager, everything feels like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. So like, I know what that feels like when you're like, it's something that little, but it feels like it's your entire universe right now.
Right. It absolutely did. She came home pretty beat up on, but
yeah.
I think today she thinks she's cute. She went out the door with lip gloss and big earrings, and
she good.
She ran out the door like, all right, Mom, bye. And I was like, okay, she must be feeling better.
You'll be all right. So maybe you can sneak back and put your hair the way you want it in a couple days. So transitioning back to the Brooklyn Commons space, how are you utilizing the Brooklyn Commons to further your goals?
This space is awesome.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
I
The
agree.
staff has been amazing since day one. And I've built some really good relationships here. Probably some friendships that are going to be long lasting. But I've built some good working relationships too, opportunities to branch out and partner with some of the other members here. Easy to Eat is one of them with their website development, and you know, Juan is another one who does marketing. So there's quite a few folks that I've been able to connect with and really take on some projects together, or at least start the planning to take on some projects together that will work out, and then cross promotion. So there are things that they have clients that need, like, you know, content writing that they don't do. They'll pass that to me. When I have a client that has a website needs to be done, I actually don't develop websites. I just know what I want them to look like and say.
Yeah.
I can pass that work off to them. So it's been really great. The staff is, again, amazing. We've been able to host workshops here. I just did a workshop for small business owners on how to do their own PR until they can hire a pro. Because I never tell anybody to do that forever. That's a disaster. But the staff has been amazing. They're supportive. It's good to get out of this space that I was in. I have a building, so I worked out of my building, and it was, you know, you're not as productive when you can go right upstairs.
Yeah.
And you know, when folks are like, "Ma," yelling downstairs.
And you're like, yeah, there's no separation between work life and home life.
Right.
Yeah.
And so here, I'm forced to leave out the house. I'm also forced to stop working at some point in time because I gotta go home. And the folks here are just amazing. I've made some really, really great connections since I've been here. So hopefully we'll get some clients out of the folks in this space, especially after the workshop we just did. We had a lot of inquiries then.
Okay.
And then I get to do stuff like this, these podcasts, and be supportive and
fun stuff like that.
And host. They always put me in front of an audience and give me a mic. I don't know why, but
I know how that feels. So a couple more questions before we wrap up here. So is there anything coming up? You know, you just said you had an event just recently. Is there anything else coming up on the horizon that you want to share with the audience?
So we're going to have to do another one of those events. We did it's called PRY Until, Public Relations for Yourself, Until, and the until being until you can hire a professional to do it.
Yeah.
And so we gave a quick, maybe not so quick, but an hour and a half or so workshop on how business owners, small business owners, could jumpstart their PR and their brand exposure. And we're going to do another one because it was during the day, and a lot of folks work during the day, so we'll do one in the evening. We're also going to take one out to Long Island because I've gotten a request for that.
Okay.
And there's an ebook that is going to accompany it, so anybody that attended Thursday gets the ebook for free. It's going to go on Amazon soon, but it really is just meant to be a reference guide, so whatever you learned in the workshop, there's just a more extensive explanation of it in the ebook, and then you can use that as reference as you work through your things. And right now, that's all that we have to announce.
Okay, we'll leave the secret stuff for secret, that's fine.
Definitely some things coming down the pike. Training for athletes, though, as the fall approaches, we do a 2-day training that we'll be piloting this fall called Going All the Way Up.
Okay.
And it teaches athletes about managing their reputation and then also managing their relationships with the media and how their personal life impacts their professional life. So we'll be doing that for high school. So.
Okay, excellent. Well, Tiffany Joy, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Why don't you give the audience your email and your information for where they can get in touch with you?
Awesome. So our website is, and everything's the same, our website is TJM&Co, so that's TJMANDCO.com. Same social media handles at TJMandco.com. Our email address is purpose@TJMandco.com, and we are on the 4th floor at Brooklyn Commons, so you can stop by and see us, shoot us an email, and we can definitely help you get that brand awareness that you need.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you around the building, and good luck with the big chop and all the stuff you have going on.
Thank you.
All right.